Okay, the Papa Paints challenge today is to create a picture with watercolor of a dog sitting by a lake, but from the vantage point of being in the lake yourself, like if you had a camera standing in the lake. So I've already done it, and in a little bit you're going to see how I did it, but I'm going to show you so you know what to look forward to. And there it is, the dog by the lake. It kind of looks like it would be an illustration, maybe, for a children's book. It's not. It's just something I did for the fun of it. So I used mostly watercolor. I used the hard watercolor, or the pan watercolor. And I've shown you this in the past, but this is it. And it looks like this on the inside. See that? And it's a mess, but I love this paint. It's Winsor Newton, and absolutely love this paint. I also used gouache because some of the areas that needed a little bit of touching up I could do with the gouache. And so, not too much, but a little bit of the white in the lake, and a little bit of the darkness in the background. I don't know if you can see that. But so, all right. Now that you've seen it, let me get started. Here we go. So, the intro has already happened on the video, but the intro hasn't happened in the real world, because I always do the intro after I'm done. So I don't really know how this is going to turn out. So I will tell you, well, you already know the idea. let's see how well I can pull this off. But at this point, I don't really have much. I have this idea to have a dog in the picture. So let me just sketch in, and I know I really should get some colored watercolor pencils, because I think watercolor pencils would be better, only because they will dissolve as the water hits them, whereas the graphite pencil, which is what I'm using here, won't do that. So I was just sketching in this dog, just trying to make a pretty dog just sitting. Let's see. Look at the dogs like here. Just kind of maybe think about the eyes. I love dogs. Dogs are just so... I just love them. I like cats too. I like domestic animals. Even horses. I don't know if they're considered domestic, but you go out into the paddock or whatever you call those areas where the horses are. They're just so beautiful and so, I don't know, peaceful, I guess. That's the way to say it. Okay, so I am just drawing a dog. I don't know what kind of dog this is. Just kind of half from memory and half I'm looking at a picture of a dog on my screen, on my computer. But I just thought I would put a dog just sitting peacefully, looking out at a lake or at a body of water of some sort. So there's my dog starting to happen. And once I have the composition done, I will then start to put the colors in. And I'm going to use watercolor today. I've kind of been on a watercolor kick now for a little while. And this dog's foot is going to be right here. It's got a big old paw. Big old paw. The place I'm putting this dog I got from Google Maps. I just was searching around for a nice peaceful looking place, and I found one near Asheville, North Carolina. So I don't know. I think it's called Beaver Lake, for those of you who are from the area. Now, don't expect this to look like Beaver Lake. This is just going to be a generic body of water. Not so sure I like that foot, but I'll take care of it. I'll erase the parts I don't like and keep the rest. Yeah, I don't have a dog anymore. I think I've mentioned this in other podcasts I've done, but I still love dogs. And you know, a dog is not yours. A dog is not yours. No, a dog is the dog's. But the dog will be so loyal to you if the dog is your dog, if that makes sense. He's not yours, but he is yours. And they will be so loyal to you. And it's amazing. So their loyalty is to the owner, not to the people passing by. Oh, I think I made it a little bit too slippery there. Let's put his leg back in here. There. I got my eraser here so I can kind of fix the parts I don't like. There's my dog. There's my dog. Okay, it kind of looks like a puppy, which was kind of unintentional, but it kind of does look like a puppy maybe because the head is bigger than it should be. An adult dog wouldn't have such a big head, maybe. And now what I want to do, I'm going to take that piece. I want him sitting on the edge of a lake, only because I want his reflection to be down here. So let me start to sketch in that reflection. And the head would be around here. So that doesn't need to be so perfect. But there we go. And there's the edge of the... Yeah, I like that. Okay. And for the edge of the water here. Maybe it curves around here a little bit. And some kind of, maybe there's a tree here. So you've already seen the intro, so you already know. But I don't know at this point what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. And some brush here. What I want also is to make sure I get plenty of dappled light. Plenty of dappled light into this picture. And the tree, of course, would have a reflection also here. And back here, maybe some of this background can be like distant. Hey, that's an idea. A distant field or something back there. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. Maybe another tree here, a little midway tree. So there's the idea. Very sketchy. See, this is one thing when you're doing traditional art, you really have to sketch it out first. You don't have to. Okay, let me take that back. You don't have to, but it usually works out better if you can. And maybe if I was doing this, maybe the dog should have been bigger, but then you wouldn't see the whole reflection. So, all right, so let's get started. with the colors. So we'll start with the background and we'll keep it very light. So I'll just go ahead and put some water on here. Let's just spread it around a little bit into these areas. And I think I'll just use the typical blue sky, just blue. Let's get some light blue. Ooh, that looks green, doesn't it? It should be blue. Okay, there it goes. Okay, I'm just gonna, it doesn't matter if it's over the tree because I will paint that later on more opaque. There we go. Get some of that blue in there. And we'll let that dry. Okay, and you know what I'm going to do too? I'm going to go ahead and get some of this water to have a blueness to it also. Because I think the reference photo I'm using, the water is kind of green, but I think I want this blue to be kind of in the water. We'll just keep it really, really super thin right now, just so that we can work with it later. Ooh, I got some green in there. Some blue-green. Well, there's nothing wrong with blue-green. Nothing wrong with that. Just spread this water. Keep it light. We can always add dark later on. Yeah, it's almost like an illustration for a book. That's what we want. We want this to be, yeah, like a children's book illustration. The dog at the lake. Maybe the dog is, maybe there's a story here. Maybe the dog is looking at the lake because the dog's owner is out there on a boat fishing or something, right? Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of this yellow-green and there. Just a little mixture. Just kind of spread it everywhere. I think this is my approach this time, is get the yellow in there. Yeah, get the whole thing. The basic local color of green. Keep spreading it around. It's almost like, you know, when you're watching a child paint or color in a coloring book. That's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just spreading it out everywhere. And like I say, you saw the intro, so you already know how this is going to work out. You saw the future before I did. Just getting this everywhere. So basically what I've done is I've created three areas. I'll just keep working on it like that. I think that'll be my approach for the whole picture. So we have the green and the blue. So kind of the typical colors that you would see. I'm going to go ahead and add a light gray, I think, for the tree, or a green gray. We can always wait for it to dry and come back and work on it some more. Gotta remember where the light's coming from too. I think I want the light to come from here, this way, or maybe behind them. You can go ahead and add some definitive lines here for the shore. Maybe some black areas here where the trees in the distance will be. Have that mysteriousness to them. Now, right now it looks like a very simple coloring, like a coloring book coloring. There. It's starting to look like something anyway. Don't know what, but there it is, something. All right, let me get the dryer and we'll dry it quicker. My little blow dryer. And for those who haven't seen it before, I'll show it to you. There it is. It's a Pro Heater heat tool, and it's not really made for what I'm using it for. A hairdryer would probably be better because a hairdryer is not as hot. But this gets very hot. This is intended to shrink wrap things, so it gets really hot, and it can burn the paper. But I just want to speed up the drying process so that I can get to the next layer. There we go. That's all we needed to do. Just to dry it off, get those pools of water off of the paper. There we go. It's still a little damp, but that's okay. That's okay. Now I think I want to start working on the dog. So I'm going to take a small brush and start working on the dog. That looks like a good brush. It's a little stiff. And it's got that flat end, almost like a cat's tooth. A cat's tongue, sorry. All right. Well, let's start. Just start to color him. And again, he's going to have to be in layers also to make him darker in certain areas. So I'm not really using any watercolor techniques with the dog. I'm just painting the dog. I remember when I was a kid, we used to have model cars and model airplanes and model boats. I remember I had a model Superman. And then you put it together, and then after you put it together, you had to paint it. Well, you didn't have to, but that's what you did. You painted it, right? Made it look nice. Getting the dog. He's got a little bit of a color pattern to him. I don't want to make them all one color. His chest has a bit of white on it. I gotta keep it very light right there because I want it to be white, almost white. Yeah, it's working out. He looks pretty good already. All right, let me get some of this dark gray. Put it in there. It's got a little black nose. Really looks like a puppy now, doesn't it? Let me thin out the darkness on this brush and put some light, very light dark. Maybe make his eyes a little bit bigger than that. Maybe make the nose a little bit bigger than that too. Yeah, I might need to touch that up with gouache later on. Right now, I'm not going to worry about that. Kind of drawing now, not painting, just to put some lines in here. lines to separate his toes. Let's see if I can mix this. Dogs have expressive eyebrows. I think maybe I was just changing my mind about the direction of the light, because all of a sudden I noticed I'm making his right side, or his left side, from our right, darker. So that's probably why there's a shadow over there. So I'll just make it. I'll make the light coming from the left. Here we are. There's the dog looking out into the... I think Robert and I did a children's book. I'm trying to remember if I illustrated a book with watercolor before. I know I did with pastel. I illustrated one with pastel. I think I did do one with watercolor. We have a few books that we've done, and dogs appear in a lot of the books. We have one called what is that book called again? I think it's called Live to Sniff. We have a book called Live to Sniff. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's what it is. It's about two dogs, a male puppy and a female puppy, and one of them, I can't remember which one. One of them lives in the city, one of them lives in the country, and the two dogs get to know each other because the owner of the dog from the city goes into the country to buy produce, and they see each other. I think it's the female dog that's the city dog, and the male dog is the country dog, I think. And it rhymes. The book rhymes. They tell you not to rhyme books, but we did. We like it too. I like it. I have way too much darkness on here now. I'm gonna have to either lighten it up with the watercolor or come back later on with some gouache. Probably what I'll have to do. Well, anyway, there's our dog. Now let's take some of the same colors and kind of rough them in here, so we have a little bit of the reflection of the dog in the water. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Okay, now let's Let's get that dryer out and dry that. There we go. All right, I'm going to turn the camera off and take a break. I'll be right back. Okay, I took about a 10-minute break and just to stretch my legs. Okay, let's start working on the background now a little bit. Let's get this wet. Try not to mess too much with the dog. So we get some of these background trees and like he's in a park or something, you know. I'm just trying to get it a little bit wet so that the watercolor can spread a little bit. Okay. Okay, let's get some trees back there. Yeah, it's not going to be winter time anymore, even though it is winter time in the real world here. Keep this a sunny, green day. Lots of green. So we keep it a little bit hazy in the back. Maybe I need to wet it down a little bit more. There we go. Starting to look good. Put some dark areas down at the bottom. It's a little bit too dry. Let's get that wet. Get some of those little hints of leaves in the background up against the sky. we want to make the grass dappled light, so it'll be a combination of dark and light. So I'm going to go ahead and start to do some of that now. Just kind of put it everywhere. So now we decided the sun was going to come this way. So this is going to be the darker side of that tree. I just keep working. There's a tree over here too. We can always add the leaves to that tree later after it dries. Okay, let's just get some of this watered down gray to kind of mix with that green. Create a whole bunch of shadows. The dog has a shadow. Obviously. And there's going to be a lot of dappled light here. Plus the shoreline here has a lot of nooks and crannies where the light isn't always perfectly bright. So it's basically a landscape with a dog in it, if you think about it. Just a landscape with a dog. Little by little, it's starting to come together. And since you saw the intro, you know that it's starting to look the way you saw it in the intro. But I don't see it yet. Nope. It's a mystery to me. It's a mystery how this is going to work out. Now, one thing I feel like my safety net here is the gouache, because some of these areas that are dark that cannot be lightened with watercolor can still be lightened with gouache. So that's important to note too, is that if you mess up with your watercolor idea, especially if you're doing an illustration for like a book and you're just, I mean, you have to get it right. You can't leave it artsy, whatever. You have to work at it. So, and if you're doing it digitally, of course, then you save yourself a lot of headaches. That's one of the good things about doing things digitally, is you have a lot of opportunities to correct things without having to redo everything. But a painting, an actual real what do you call it, traditional painting like this, you have to either just do the whole thing over or paint over it or whatever. So this dog is sitting in the sun. Now I do see one good thing we could do with the gouache is we can make some wisps, perhaps. I don't know, I'll think about it. But I'll let you in on it as I do it. Okay? And the idea is to make it look like a nice illustration. You know, it's the story of a dog by a lake. You know, we don't have any story written for this picture, but I do want to kind of show you the process. Chances are I'll be using gouache. I just have a feeling about that. But I want to get as much. The one thing about using watercolor and then considering using gouache to enhance it or to fix it is the more you use the watercolor, the more it'll look like watercolor painting. And that's kind of the idea, is you want it to have that watercolor painting. If you were doing a digital painting, there's no water at all, but you still try to create that watercolor look. Let me make this branch come out over here. I think this will be one of those that just kind of reaches across the picture. I kind of like that look. Yeah, just these little skinny branches. And like I say, this is the summer or the spring, so there'll be leaves on these branches. And I think I should add some more green, like accentuate the green a little bit more than I have. Right now I'm just trying to create possibly the effect of a dappled sunlight area here. And of course the water has to look like water. It's starting to come together. There, let it dry again, and let me take a picture of it. Sometimes if I look at a photograph of the artwork, I can see it. It's almost like stepping back. So let's see. There's a shadow there from that cup. Move that light. There. Now I can see it better. Yeah, let me look at that. So there's the picture. It's coming together. It's coming together. So I think I'm going to let it dry, and then I think I'm going to bring out the gouache. I think that's the next step here. So I'll turn off the camera again and come back. Okay, so I've put away the watercolor and I've brought out the gouache. And the gouache brand I'm using is Artist's Loft. And there's one of them. And I'm using a piece of paper as my palette. And the colors I've put on here are these ones. So I have two whites, just because I need white a lot. And there's kind of a crimson and a blue and a light green and a darker green and two yellows and yellow ochre. So let's see if I can do what I need to do with those colors. And let's start with the dog. I think the dog needs to be fixed up a little bit. So the reason I'm using gouache is because gouache will be more opaque. And let me get a small skinny brush. So here's the small skinny brush I'm going to use. And I really want to take my time to get it looking good. So let's get this dog looking good. So again, it works like watercolor, but it sometimes behaves a little bit like acrylic. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre and let's get his ears looking the way I want them to look. I don't want to lose the watercolor effect, but I do want to get the dog looking better than I have him. Not completely happy with the dog, well, with my rendition of the dog. So let me add some white to that. Just let me add a little bit more yellow ochre to that, I think. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Get some of that white, get it lighten up a little bit, and put some around his snout. Kind of doing a little bit of pointillism here, a little bit of dots. Just keep it wet there. adding some blue and green to it to kind of give it some shadow look. Let's get some white in there. Okay. I don't think I need to do much more with the dog. There we go. That looks good. All right, now let's work on the background. Use some of this green and this red together. It'll kind of make a brownish green, a little bit muddy, but that's kind of what I want. Back here and up here. Let me go ahead and add some leaves to this foreground tree. Yeah, some yellow to there, so gives a little bit of the effect of light, sunlight coming in. A lot of leaves on a tree, and I'm taking my time to make sure there's a lot of leaves on this one. Yeah, I didn't want to have a bare tree. I didn't want it to be bare like that. I'm purposely doing this to get a little bit of a better effect of the dappled light that I had in mind. Go ahead and add some of these colors here too. Go ahead and add some white here, some yellow. Yeah, see, if you water down gouache, it'll be watercolor basically. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do. Trying to keep that watercolor look. Okay. Keep working on this background. Let me get out the watercolor and add a little bit more brush strokes of let me see if I get this. I'll just use this soft brush. Just get some more dark areas in there, in the water especially. Just more to I just want to add this dark area so that I can add light on top of it, since I'm using gouache anyway. So it's a mixed medium, I guess you would say. Light gouache and watercolor. There. All right, now let's let that dry, and I'll come back after it dries. Okay, it's dry, and now let's try to add some little details to it. Use a couple of different brushes here. So I'll use the gouache, and I want to add some. You know what? I'm going to add some. Maybe some purple to, is that purple? No, that's Prussian blue. Let me find some purple. I might have to use black. You know what? I try to stay away from black, but unless I have some, oh, that's purple. Purple might work. But I was gonna try black. I stay away from black, but I'm gonna use black. I think black might work in some cases here. I mean, I was using black sort of kind of in the watercolor, so why not use it with the gouache? What I want to do with it is I want to create these little vertical lines that indicate like bushes and branches and things like that. They just happen to be in the background. They're part of everything. Just little tiny wisps. So I'm kind of using black and purple at the same time. Create some grass that's growing up here on the edge of the water where the dog is sitting. Just kind of wisp it around. A little more detail to the bark on the tree. Okay, I think it's the way it's going to look. Let me put my name on the bottom for anybody who wants to know who did this. $20.24. There. There's our dog by the water. What do you think? Do you know what I think? I think I'm going to use a little bit more watercolor and add some darkness to this side of him. Use this brush here. So let me get some of this light, very thinned out, I should say. Very thinned out water. Yeah. I think that's better. So a little bit more shadow there, I think. Here. And then probably in the water too. Okay, now I think I'm going to say it's done. There's our dog by the lake. Dog at the lake. Let me take a picture of it. There we go. And say cheese. All right, see you later. Hope you enjoyed that.